Welcome to the channel. If you're new, my name's Taryn. I'm the blind homemaker, and today I'm starting a new series that I'm really excited about. I want to share non-visual cooking made easy videos. I want to show you the basic recipes that I started with when I didn't know hardly anything to do in the kitchen and show you step-by-step, simple cooking techniques. So come on. The first installment, I want to teach you how to make eggs in a basket or eggs in a nest, eggs in a hole. A bunch of people call it a bunch of different things, but I love this. It's essentially just bread that you pull a hole into and you make a fried egg inside of it. It's very easy and very delicious. So we are going to start with bread. I just bought bread because I think today I would probably make it from scratch, but I want to show you how it was when I very first started. And I would have had no earthly idea how to make bread. Let's see, I'm counting my slices out. So we have our bread. Actually, let me tell you all the ingredients. Bread, butter, salt, pepper, eggs. I also grabbed a paper plate that I set behind my griddle. I have a griddle here, but you can also do this just on a frying pan on your stove. But I got a paper plate for me to put my eggshells on or any trash on. Pro tip, you want to have like a trash bowl or something like that to toss all your stuff. So I'm going to pull my sleeves up a little bit, and I've got bread. So what you're going to do is right in the center of the bread, you're going to pull a hole, and you don't want it to go towards the crust because you don't want to rip your bread in half. So I usually just stick my finger through the middle and then just widen the hole a little bit. You can also use like a small glass, flip it upside down and press it down into your bread and cut a little hole out. But it works fine for me to just tear a hole in the center. So that's what I did. And I am going to do that to all of my bread.
I thought we had a cookie cutter.
I like to do it this way.
Huh. Okay.
So I'm just doing this to all of my bread. I'm actually gonna have this go in real time, just so you know how fast it is to do this process. Call me Rachel Ray. This is 30-minute meals, although it won't be 30 minutes. I'm making 5 pieces, and that's just what I need for my family right now. My oldest is not home. And while I'm doing this, I just want to tell you, hey, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching, I know you love me, so just subscribe. It really helps. I really do want to show the world and show other blind and visually impaired people that you can be a homemaker no matter what your vision is. So I'm gonna dust the breadcrumbs off my griddle. And I like to use the griddle just because I could do more than one piece at a time. So I'm gonna plug this bad boy in, and you want the heat at about medium. What I'm going to do next is I have some butter, just a block of butter, and I'm just pulling the foil back, and I'm gonna just use the butter to grease the whole pan. I'm just rubbing it on the griddle. The griddle is pretty cold right now, so it's not really melting, but that's fine. You can also apply the butter directly to your bread. I don't prefer to do it that way. It takes too much time. So this is what we're doing. And when cooking on a griddle, my tip for that is to think about where you're placing your food in kind of like a grid pattern so you could keep a mental image of where everything is. So I'm gonna lay my bread out in my little grid pattern. I'm using Dave's Killer bread, the white bread done right. I really like this one. If I have to buy bread, this is definitely what I like to use. So I have laid my bread out. I'm just waiting for the pan to heat up, but I want to show you, because this is the hardest part for a lot of people, how you crack your egg directly into the hole. So I have a butter knife, and what I usually do is I take the butter knife and I feel my bread, because you obviously can't use your fingers. And you want to have the point kind of down. So as you're feeling around your bread, you can hear, there we go. We can hear when I hit the middle. And you used your butter knife as a cane, essentially, to feel where the middle is, to know where to crack your egg. And what I'm going to do, I forgot one thing, is a measuring cup. Because I'm going to crack my egg into my measuring cup. I'm going to use my left hand to feel where the center of my bread is, and I'm going to pour the egg in with a measuring cup. Let me grab that real quick. Here we go. I've got a giant measuring cup. This is the one with the handle and the spout, but it works. And you want something with a spout just so you can pour the egg in with some precision. So I'm going to set that down. I'm going to grab my eggs. And a tip for eggs as well is don't just like barely tap it. That's how you get a bunch of shells. You want to give it one good whack and then peel the shell back. Okay, so I've got one egg in there. We're gonna work one at a time. I'm gonna grab a paper towel. And I stuck my shell in my little trash plate back there. So I'm gonna grab my butter knife again. I'm gonna start top left just because that's what works well for me. So I could keep my grid pattern. Okay, so I could touch the top of the bread, no problem. And I'm using my butter knife to know where the hole is. And I am just going to come back, feel where my butter knife is, and pour my egg straight down. Boom, baby. And that's all you need to do. And you just repeat the process for all of the bread. Now I could kind of tell now without using the butter knife, just because I've done this so much, I could use pretty much like one finger on the bread and know more or less where to pour. But that comes with practice. And also, if you have little children, they oftentimes like to eat your little bread scraps. When I was a little girl, my mom would use a glass and she would cut out these little bread circles. And what I would do was fry those up in butter and then eat those. And those were almost my favorite part. Yeah, my mom would do that. And it was something I very much look forward to. Of course, I like the eggs in a basket, but I also really enjoyed eating the fried bread. I mean, who wouldn't? Bread and butter and you fry it up, like what's not to love?
I'm not gonna lie, that's why I wanted the cookie cutter.
But because I just pulled the bread out, mine doesn't really have the circular. So I have, remember how I said I did a grid pattern? I have one straggler, yes. So I have rows. So my third row only has one piece of bread, so I kind of lost her for a second. So I did use my butter knife again to find it. And as that starts to cook, I'm actually going to wash my hands real quick. And we're back. Now, salt and pepper. I have a lot of people ask me about my spices. The main spices that I use, I keep them in mason jars on the back of my stove. So I usually keep my salt, pepper, garlic, what else? Red pepper flakes, those kind of things I just keep in pint-sized mason jars on the top of my stove. And I just keep them in order. Now, my family will attest that when they put them back out of order, I get frustrated.
No, you don't.
I know, it's hard to believe. So I'm pretty much just going across the whole area of the griddle to salt and pepper. So some of it's gonna fall onto the griddle, that's fine. I do not mind. So the kind of spatula that you're going to need is going to be a very thin spatula. The one I have is silicone and it's very thin at the end just to make it super easy to get under eggs. I call this my egg spatula because you can't just use any spatula for eggs. So the art of flipping is just keeping that mental image of where everything is on your pan. I would recommend if you're doing this for the first time to only do one at a time and do it on a pan. So I am going to start, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to start on the right side of the bread and I'm just going to shimmy the spatula under there to make sure nothing is sticking. And once I feel the weight of the whole piece of bread on my spatula, I'm going to just pray to Jesus that it flips well. And usually that's it. You just flip your wrist over and you want to try to keep it in the same spot as much as possible. Really and truly, this is just trial and error. It's not always easy. I don't do it perfectly all the time. So it just takes a little bit of practice. My pieces are kind of close together over here, so I want to make sure I'm getting all the way under. All right, just like, actually, you know what? I don't think they're ready yet. I'm feeling the top of the bread and it still feels really, really soft. So I'm going to give it a little bit more time. What you want to feel is the crust start to toast and you want to feel some firmness to the bread. And as I went to flip it, I could also feel the egg was shimmying around a lot, so it hadn't set well enough. So I actually did turn up my heat a smidge and I'm going to let it cook a little bit longer. And I know a lot of people have fear when cooking, and all I can really say is you just got to get into it and do your best. Not everything that you cook is going to be edible, and that's okay. You're not going to do everything perfectly the first time. A lot of times you have to do a bunch of practice, but practice makes progress, and you're never going to learn if you don't really try. And if you're maybe the parent of a blind child, or you have a newly blind person in your life or a newly visually impaired person in your life, I know your desire is going to be to do these things for them, but I encourage you to let them fail. And that's really the best way to learn, is learning by experience. I'm sure I do a lot of stuff that my husband's like, this crazy woman, what is she doing? But he lets me fail and he lets me figure it out. Is that right, babe?
Yep.
So I'm doing just as I said. I'm scooping under each piece, and I am using my left hand to stabilize the bread. You kind of have to be careful because you don't want to burn your fingers.
How many times have you done that?
A bajillion. And it's just going in my grid pattern, giving it a little flip. You can also start to smell when it's time to flip. You'll start to smell like a caramelized butter smell and a little toasty smell. I'm gonna stick a little paper towel in my apron pocket. I usually have a towel over my shoulder, but I don't know why I didn't do that this time. So we gave them a flip, and now I'm going to salt and pepper. Again, those sides need flavor. And how long you let this other side cook depends on how runny you want the egg. So you can use your finger and feel the firmness of the egg in the center of each piece of bread. And if you like it really runny, you're not going to cook very long on this side. But if you like a super firm yolk, you're going to cook a little bit longer. And you could just press down in the center to know how firm your egg is. So like as I'm pressing here in the center, it's still pretty soft. So I know this egg is not ready yet. And we pretty much all like a relatively runny egg. I'm very much that I don't want my white runny, but I do want my yolk runny, because then you can tear off the toasted pieces of bread and dip it in your runny egg, and it's so good.
Towel.
Oh, thank you. Get you a man like mine, but not mine, he's taken.
Like mine.
Like mine,
Yeah.
that's correct. I'm also going to grab a plate so I can start, as I'm ready, I can start putting my eggs in a basket on my plate, so I'm just pushing everything back, make a little spot. I love these plates. I don't know if it's the right side up, but they are chicken roosters. Are these roosters or chickens?
I forgot.
I think they're roosters, maybe.
Oh, they're roosters.
I got these from Cracker Barrel. I love these plates so much. It's very me core. So I'm just feeling the center, and these actually feel, oh, that one is over the side of the other one. These feel about done, honestly. I did turn the heat up, and we're not skipping any time. So this is completely all in real time. So the egg feels okay, but I don't smell the smell yet. It's like a toasty, buttery smell. I don't smell it yet, so I think we need a couple of minutes still. And you'll learn as you cook where all these smells come from, especially if you maybe have someone help you the first couple of times. You can start associating. I have the smell right now, so you will start associating the smell with when your food is done. So I'm just scooping and setting directly over in to my plate. You can have this with bacon or sausage or fruit, whatever you want. And I'm gonna reach back and unplug my griddle. But really, that is it. Serve it up to your family. I want to know if you give it a try, how it went. If you have any questions, leave that in the comments. And I'm also curious, what other things do you want to learn how to cook? I can do the little Cooking Made Easy series on really anything, but I was just starting with some of the very basics that I started with when I started cooking. Because again, I just want to show the world and you and everyone that just because you're blind, visually impaired does not mean that you can't be an amazing, incredible homemaker. So give it a try and let me know. Happy homemaking.